When Harry Met Sally Cedilla Superscripte is a 1989 American romantic comedy film written by Nora Ephron and directed by Rob Reiner. It stars Billy Crystal as Harry and Meg Ryan as Sally. The story follows the title characters from the time they meet just before sharing a cross-country drive, through 12 years or so of chance encounters in New York City. King Kong is a 2005 epic monster film and remake of the 1933 film of the same name. Directed, co-written, and produced by Peter Jackson, it stars Naomi Watts as Ann Darrow, Jack Black as Carl Denham, Adrian Brody as Jack Driscoll and, through motion capture, Andy Serkis as the title character. Now, Voyager is a 1942 American drama film starring Bette Davis, Paul Henreid, and Claude Rains, and directed by Irving Rapper. The screenplay by Casey Robinson is based on the 1941 novel of the same name by Olive Higgins Broughty. On Golden Pond is a 1981 American drama film directed by Mark Riddle. The screenplay by Ernest Thompson was adapted from his 1979 play of the same title. Henry Fonda won the Academy Award for Best Actor in what was his final film role. Pretty Woman is a 1990 American romantic comedy film set in Los Angeles. Written by J.F. Lawton and directed by Gary Marshall, it stars Richard Gere and Julia Roberts, and features Hector Elizondo, Ralph Bellamy, Laura San Giacomo and Jason Alexander in supporting roles. From Here to Eternity is a 1953 drama film directed by Fred Zinnemann and based on the novel of the same name by James Jones. The picture deals with the tribulations of three soldiers, played by Burt Lancaster, Montgomery Clift, and Frank Sinatra, stationed on Hawaii in the months leading up to the attack on Pearl Harbor. Ghost is a 1990 American romantic fantasy, crime thriller film starring Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore, Tony Goldwyn, and Whoopi Goldberg. It was written by Bruce Joel Rubin and directed by Jerry Zucker. The plot centers on a young woman in jeopardy and the ghost of her murdered lover, who tries to save her with the help of a reluctant psychic. Vertigo is a 1958 American psychological thriller film directed and produced by Alfred Hitchcock. The story was based on the 1954 novel D'entre les morts by Boileau Jack. The screenplay was written by Alec Koppel and Samuel A. Moonstruck is a 1987 American romantic comedy film directed by Norman Jewison and written by John Patrick Shanley. It stars Cher, Nicolas Cage, Danny Aiello, Vincent Gardenia, and Olympia Dukakis. The film was released on December 16, 1987 in New York City, and then nationally on December 18, 1987. Singin' in the Rain is a 1952 American musical comedy film directed by Gene Kelly and Stanley Donen, starring Kelly, Donald O'Connor and Debbie Reynolds, and choreographed by Kelly and Donen. It offers a lighthearted depiction of Hollywood in the late 20s, with the three stars portraying performers caught up in the transition from silent films to talkies. Wuthering Heights is a 1939 American black and white film directed by William Wyler and produced by Samuel Goldwyn. It is based on the novel, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bront 1/2. The film depicts only 16 of the novel's 34 chapters, eliminating the second generation of characters. The African Queen is a 1951 adventure film adapted from the 1935 novel of the same name by C.S. Forester. The film was directed by John Huston and produced by Sam Spiegel and John Wolfe. The screenplay was adapted by James A.G., John Huston, John Collier and Peter Viertel. Out of Africa is a 1985 American epic romantic drama film directed and produced by Sidney Pollack and starring Robert Redford and Meryl Streep. The film is based loosely on the autobiographical book Out of Africa written by Isaac Dynson, which was published in 1937, with additional material from Dynson's book Shadows on the Grass and other sources. My Fair Lady is a 1964 American musical film adaptation of the Lerner Loewe stage musical of the same name based on the 1938 film adaptation of the original 1913 stage play Pygmalion by George Bernard Shaw. Annie Hall is a 1977 American romantic comedy directed by Woody Allen from a screenplay he co-wrote with Marshall Brickman. Produced by Allen's manager, Charles H. Joffe, the film stars Allen as Alvy Max Singer, who tries to figure out the reasons for the failure of his relationship with the film's eponymous female lead, played by Diane Keaton in a role written specifically for her. City Lights is a 1931 American romantic comedy film written by, directed by, and starring Charlie Chaplin. The The story follows the misadventures of Chaplin's tramp as he falls in love with a blind girl and develops a turbulent friendship with an alcoholic millionaire. Love Story is a 1970 romantic drama film written by Eric Siegel, who also authored the best-selling novel of the same name. It was directed by Arthur Hiller and starred Ryan O'Neal, Ollie McGraw, John Marley, Ray Milland and Tommy Lee Jones in his film debut in a minor role. It's a Wonderful Life is a 1946 American Christmas fantasy comedy drama film produced and directed by Frank Capra, based on the short story The Greatest Gift, which Philip Van Doornstern wrote in 1939 and published privately in 1945. Dr. Zhivago is a British-American 1965 epic drama romance film directed by David Lean, starring Omar Sharif and Julie Christie. It is set in Russia between the years prior to World War I and the Russian Civil War of 1917 to 1922, and is based on the Boris Pasternak novel of the same name, immensely popular in the West, but banned in the Soviet Union at the time. The Way We Were is a 1973 American romantic drama film, starring Barbra Streisand and Robert Redford, and directed by Sidney Pollack. The screenplay by Arthur Lawrence was based on his college days at Cornell University and his experiences with the House Un-American Activities Committee. An Affair to Remember is a 1957 film starring Cary Grant and Deborah Kerr, and directed by Leo McCarey. It was distributed by 20th Century Fox. The film is considered one of the most romantic movies of all time, according to the American Film Institute. Roman Holiday is a 1953 American romantic comedy directed and produced by William Wyler. It stars Gregory Peck as a reporter and Audrey Hepburn as a royal princess out to see Rome on her own. Hepburn won an Academy Award for Best Actress for her performance. The screenplay and costume design also won. West Side Story is a 1961 American romantic musical drama film directed by Robert Wise and Jerome Robbins. The film is an adaptation of the 1957 Broadway musical of the same name, which in turn was inspired by William Shakespeare's play Romeo and Juliet. Gone with the Wind is a 1939 American epic historical romance film adapted from Margaret Mitchell's Pulitzer-winning 1936 novel. It was produced by David O. Selznick of Selznick International Pictures and directed by Victor Fleming. Casablanca is a 1942 American romantic drama film directed by Michael Curtiz and based on Murray Burnett and Joan Allison's unproduced stage play Everybody Comes to Rick's. The film stars Humphrey Bogart, Ingrid Bergman, and Paul Henreid. It features Claude Rains, Conrad Veidt, Sidney Greenstreet, Peter Lorre, and Julie Wilson.